Good morning. I am Dr. Balasubramanian Tyagarajan. Today in our continuing Google Classroom tutorials, we will see some of the advanced techniques we use in managing the users within the Google Classroom. The users can be the students who have been enrolled into the classroom, and then as well as the teachers who have been invited to play a role within the classroom. So now this is actually I have already opened my Google Classroom. This is a test classroom which I have created for purpose of this tutorial, and now I am going to go to the tab titled People. So People is the place where we do all the role management. So here there are a few teachers listed here and a few students listed here. One of the students has already joined, the other one has been invited yet to join. So now what we can do as far as the teachers are concerned. So here you see, obviously I am the owner of the classroom, so there are no submenu here. So here I just click these three vertical dots. I can email a teacher, I can remove the teacher from the classroom, or I can choose to make this teacher a class owner. Supposing I want to transfer my ownership of the classroom to another teacher, all I got to do is go to the name of the teacher. There will be three vertical dots just next to the teacher's name. Just click on it, then choose make class owner. You can choose to remove the teacher from the class, and you can choose to send an email to the teachers. By clicking this email button, you will be taken to the email menu, so that you will be able to send a mail. So this is actually one of the teachers who has been invited, but the teacher is yet to join the class as per the invite. So next is by clicking at the plus button here, you can invite new teachers. For example, just start clicking, you will get all the names here, so that you can choose them, invite them, send an invite to them to join your class as teacher. So that is it is possible to invite teachers by clicking on this plus sign next to the person icon. Then next comes the students. So here there is already one student. Then you can click here, just copy this link to invite the student. All you got to do is just copy this link to invite the student to the, you got to type the email address of the student, and then you copy the invite link to the student. What happens is the student just clicks there, uses his or her Google ID, and can join the class, provided if you're running your classroom from the G Suite portal or from the education version of G Suite. You need to enable students, you need to permit the students from outside the domain to join the class. Then only anybody can join the class. So I will be describing that setting during the course of today's demonstration. So I repeat again, this setting, there is a unique setting here. So you cannot just by clicking here and typing the email, you cannot allow any student from outside the domain or the school domain or college domain to join, because Google Classroom is highly protected, and you need to be within the domain for somebody to join the class. If you want outsiders to join a class, you need to change the settings from the Google G Suite admin portal. So that needs to be done. If you are using a personal ID, this is not a problem at all. Anybody who you are inviting, anybody who you are sending a link to can join your classroom. Supposing if you are using a personal ID, it is not at all a problem. All you need is just click this and copy the link and send it across to the student. They will be immediately able to join your class using their Google ID. So now here inside the student menu, here you have the list of students. Here you can order or reorder the list of students as per, you can sort it by the last name or sort it by the first name. This is actually the choice which you have. If you click by sort by last name, it will be sorted by last name. Then if you say you sort it by first name, it will sort it by first name. And now here, supposing you check this box, the particular student check box next to the particular student, the actions gets enabled. What are the actions you can do? You can email the student, you can email the grade of the student, you can email other details to the students, you can email all the progress card of the student. All this can be done by just clicking on. If you have posted a material, you can choose to email the student of the class, informing them that materials have been posted. Then you can remove the student from the class by clicking the remove button. And then there is one more feature here. You can mute a student. Suppose the student is cluttering your classroom with large number of comments. So you can mute the student so that whatever comments they are typing won't be saved inside the classroom. So you have the ability to silence the students, ability to post comments. So these are the three advanced settings you can carry out as far as a student is concerned. And then I'm going to take you to the advanced settings which have been telling. The thing is, as a Google administrator will like to monitor how many people, how many classes are actively participating and delivering content, and how many students are actively involved in the learning process, how many teachers are actively involved in all the classroom activities, and these things can be viewed from the admin console. So I have already logged into my G Suite admin console. And here, this is actually how your admin console is going to look like. Then I'll go to the apps. Here I am clicking on the G Suite. Here you have Google Drive and Google Docs. So inside this Google Drive, why I am saying all these things is, inside this Google Drive and Google Docs, there are certain settings which you should take care of. First thing is the status of the Google Drive and Docs. Here it needs to be on for everyone. If it is not on for everyone, you need to make it on for everyone. Otherwise, they may not be able to access documents or save documents into the Google Drive. I've been telling in my previous sessions that all the documents within the Google Classroom or all the tests and other things, resources within the classroom are saved inside the Google Drive. So unless and until you enable this Google Drive for all the users, the user may not be able to make use of your classroom. So first thing you do is you add or you enable the Google Drive and Docs for all the users. Let me go again and show you, repeat again. So I've gone to the G Suite and then here I'm choosing Docs. So here it is already enabled by me for everyone. So if you don't want to enable, just click this three vertical dots. You can turn off for everyone and you can choose whom you want to enable this feature for. Right now, if you don't enable this feature for everyone, the students may not be able to access the resources from the Google Drive. So this is the first thing a G Suite admin has got to do. Let me again tell you that this is not a problem, as if you are going to run a classroom with your personal Google account, because that is already enabled for everybody. When you start a Google Classroom using a personal Google ID, this is not an issue at all. This will be an issue only if you are using a G Suite Basic or G Suite Enterprise or Educational G Suite, and you want to create a classroom using an educational G Suite within your school domain. Then these settings should be taken care of. Now I will click on this, and then here this tells you the service status is on for everyone. You just click the down arrow. It will take you to the status where you can switch it on or switch it off. You can switch it on and switch it off. Then you can, by default, G Suite organizes all the users into one group, but you can organize them, divide them into subgroups so that you can more efficiently manage your G Suite applications. Now next comes the sharing settings. Here this is where you need to share your Google Drive. Here I have given sharing outside the domain. So I have turned on the feature where the files and resources within the Google Drive of my G Suite can be accessed by users from outside my domain. Then here, this is turned into on. That is very important. Suppose you want to turn it off, you just click this pencil button. It gives you the various options which are available for you to do. So here I have turned the sharing of Google Drive on for what? Files owned by the users within the domain, or this can be shared by everyone. And there are three subsettings. This is actually on for files owned by users in the domain, but when sharing outside the domain, it will give you a warning that it will be shared outside, and then it will allow users of the domain to send sharing invite to people outside the domain. So supposing if one of the teachers is posting a resource here into the G Drive, the teacher can send out a link asking others from outside the domain to access the file, and then allow the users within the domain to publish files into the web. Here G Drive, as you can create a static website using a feature inside the Google Drive. So supposing you want to create a website, if your user within the domain wants to create a website, this setting should be on, because unless if this setting is on, the website will not be visible to others in the internet. And then there is something called access checker. So when the user actually shares a file, what happens is it provides access to whom? The recipients only, or the persons from within the domain, that is Otolaryngology Online or public. So here this access checker has given a uniform permission to people to access the resources within the Google Drive. So I have set this as the first one. I have given blanket permission, because if you want to run a website, the public should be able to access all the documents from within the domain. And then next thing comes the distribution of content outside the Otolaryngology Online. So here I have given permission to anybody to distribute the contents from within the G Drive to anybody outside the domain. You can set it to users only within the domain, or you can make it more private, that you can say that nobody should access this resource. You can choose this. So these are all the advanced sharing settings which are available in your Google Drive. Now link sharing defaults. So what actually happens is, supposing you are creating a link from within the Google Drive, you can send out a link publicly. You can share the link. So supposing if you are sharing a link, it will be visible to a large number of people. But here by default, Google Drive does not permit link sharing from within the Google Drive. So if you want to change it here, it is actually by default it is off. You can choose it to on. If you choose it to on, you can choose it to switch it on for anyone within the domain or anyone outside the domain. So both things are possible. So if you turn it on, anyone at the Otolaryngology with the link, anyone with the link can be able to access the file. Supposing if you are within the domain, if you turn it on, only people within the domain will be able to access the link which you are providing. So that is as far as the sharing setting goes. Now admin needs to here we are more worried about Google Class. So let me go to Google Class. So here the admin will be more worried about how the Google Class is functioning. So again, the Google Class has been enabled, switched on for everyone. And now the general settings, inside the general settings, what are all the permissions that has been given to the teacher, that also you can set by clicking on this down arrow. So what happens is, a teacher can create classes, what happens is, before the ability to create classes, the teacher should be verified by the admin. So here a verified teacher who has been verified by the admin can create classes, can email to the guardians, the progress of the student to the guardian. It is actually turned on. I will show you the settings by clicking the down arrow. Here, the teacher's permission, who can create class, all pending and I have given it as all pending and verified teachers, because supposing if the system, you cannot expect the system admin to be online 24 hours, 365 days. So what you can do is, if you use this setting, if you have sent an invite, if a teacher sends invite to some other teacher, the teacher can still perform all the activities of the teacher without being a verified teacher. The verification can be done at a later time and date. So that is one setting which is available to a teacher who has not been verified. So all pending and verified teachers can create class. Then guardian access, again, guardian access is actually the ability to send email to the guardian. For somebody to send messages, email to the guardian regarding the progress of their ward, it is actually a teacher. So all the parents and guardians can access classroom information. That should be turned on. So the guardians should have access to the classroom. So that should be turned on. So that is how you manage the classroom to be more transparent to the parents and guardians. So a guardian, if you enable this, the send email tab for the guardian will be enabled next to the student. And before you can mail, guardian mail or send the progress of the student to guardian, you should remember that the student should be having a Google ID from the institution. I repeat again, the student should have a institutional ID for this guardian access to function. This is actually as far as the general setting goes. Then here, the class membership. Here you need to take one important note, because who can join a class from within your domain? You need to, if you want your class to be accessible by any user, even from someone outside your institutional domain, you need to choose this setting, any user. So any user should be able to join your class, and your class members also should have the ability to join any class from outside your domain. Even that you can set. So this class membership gives permission for anybody to from outside your domain also to join your class, and it also permits your members from your domain to use this domain ID to join any other class outside. So that permission can be set here. That is actually here. So this is one thing which you need to focus on, because if you don't turn this on, people from outside the domain, students from outside your domain, outside your institution, using their personal email ID or personal Google ID cannot join your class. So you need to turn it on. Again, I repeat, this is only for teachers who create class from within their educational G Suite environment, or if the teacher is creating a class using G Suite, paid version of G Suite, this feature should be enabled. If the teacher is using a free version, if they are using the personal ID to create a classroom, you need not bother about these settings at all. So this is actually more important at the institutional level, and it should be done by a system administrator. So I'm just explaining these things because the system administrator may not know every settings which is available in the G Suite. So the teacher who is listening to this session should be able to point it out to the sysadmin and ensure that these features are enabled for making better use of the class. So here we have given who can join the class from within the domain, any user, that should be there, and then which classes can users join in, users of your domain join. So what is exactly important about this setting? Supposing if the user from within your domain, supposing user who was being given an email ID from within your domain, supposing your name followed by .ac.in, your school ID or a college ID. With that ID, you give permission to the student to use the ID you have provided, institutional ID you have provided as email ID to the student to join any G Suite class. So that is the setting here. So how you go about changing this setting? Initially it will be set to off. By default this setting will be off. So you need to click this pencil, and then here you need to give out who can join classes in your domain. You need to give any user, which classes can users in your domain can join. So here you can choose to allow your students to use your domain ID to join classes within your domain, or classes in whitelisted domain, or any G Suite class. So for example, if you don't want to give blanket permission for your students to join any G Suite class, you can say you can add certain domains to the whitelist. So if you're sure that you may be friendly with some other education institution, they may be running their own classes, so you can whitelist their domain inside your G Suite setting. And if you choose this setting, your student will be able to join the whitelisted domain classes which could be held by another institution. So this is where next comes a whitelisted domain. So this is where you need to add whitelisted domains. So what you need to give configure, and then you need to add new. You need to type out the name of the domain, and you add that domain to the whitelist. So we will see. So I'm putting a domain. So I'm adding a domain to the whitelist. So when you add a domain to the whitelist, so it is automatically added. So anybody using this domain as an email ID will be able to join. I mean, a person from this domain can join classes from Otolaryngology online domain, which I am using to manage this session, or vice versa. From that domain, students can join classes hosted in this domain. You can also choose to remove the whitelisted domain by clicking the remove button. That is as far as the domains are concerned. Now let me go back to the home where we started. Then let me go to app where we and now here additional Google services. Then we are pertain what all settings were pertaining to the classroom. Here we have done here. We have done with this setting. Then we will go to apps. Now all these things are over. Now let us see what other things are left. Now here reports. So reports is actually where a system admin takes periodical assessment of the usage details across the organization, various softwares, namely how many people are using the Gmail account from within the domain, how many people are using Google Classroom created within the domain, how many people have created a website within this domain, what amount of space inside the G drive has been used by the members of the domain. So you click on this report. The report page will open. Here, this is actually the highlights. The highlights basically will tell you that the status of different accounts. So here, the first graph you see is the status of what? There may be many accounts within this domain. So what are all the status of different accounts? It says all the accounts are active. So the admin has not suspended, has not archived any class, has not blocked any user. All the users are active. That is why it says there are 3 users, and just by keeping the cursor you can get this. There are 3 active users, and then that is by going to the view details. Here it tells us the number of users, active users, the green is active users, and then if it is suspended users, it will say it will be given in red, archive will be given in orange, blocked user will be given in blue. Now admin status. So here how many administrators? There is only one admin right now, and that is me. So actually the total number of admin is 1. So technically speaking, you can have multiple administrators within the G Suite. So here less secure app success. So there are how many apps which has been denied because of security issues. So there are 2 apps which has been denied due to security issues. So here there is a 3rd app which has been denied due to security access. So this is actually it gives you the details of the how many apps have been denied due to security reasons, and then storage used by different apps. So for example, the blue, you just uncheck these things, it will give you only the Gmail storage. So now around 204 MB of Google Drive space has been used by Gmail. And then what is actually the drive storage used? So it gives the drive storage used is around 1.55 GB. And then what is the storage that has been used to store photograph? Nothing. We have not stored any photograph inside the domain. And then we have not shared the drive also. So no shared space is also used. So by checking these things, you can just see the usage details of the Gmail. Now the total storage used is around 1.75 GB. So this is actually the total storage of the G Suite. So here G Suite will give you 100 GB. So here this domain is using 1.75 GB. So this is as a here highlights really tells you the storage details and then how the files are shared externally. So 53 files are shared externally. Let me see how many files have been shared to the public. So here we have not shared anything to the public. So here next is we have shared some of the files by sending out links. So that is 2 files have been shared with anyone with the link. And then some of the files have been shared with the link from to outside the domain. So these are all the details of file sharing link. Then, so this gives the weekly active users. So active users within a week, it tells user 1. So there are 2 users. So the user activity inside various application can be seen here. So Gmail, there are active users 2. Let us see Google Drive. So active users 2. Then Google Meet. So active users 2. Google Hangouts, not been used at all. Google Calendar, active users 2. And then Google Classroom, active users 2. So it gives you details pertaining to the users, active users using the various apps within the Google Suite, G Suite. And then posts, who are all, this tells gives you a bird's eye view of activity of current posts, how many people are posting. So weekly. So this week is only 1 post, but logically speaking, this report really takes 1 to 2 days to get generated. Suppose you want to see, say you would have created some activity, you would have used some space. This will be updated. The updation process takes somewhere between 24 to 48 hours. So the current status will be available only after day or 2. And then this data will be stored within the your Google admin console for a period ranging between 15 days to 6 months depending on the sensitivity of the data. So now let me go to the accounts. This is actually what we have seen is a bird's eye view, and now the individual details you can get here. It will give you the number of people involved, I mean total accounts that have been enrolled or maintained within the domain, and then not enrolled, not enforced, locked. So these are all details regarding the 2-step verification enrollment. So what example, you can enforce your user, the members of your domain, to use the 2-step verification. What exactly is the 2-step verification? That is, you get after giving out a password, it will give out another password into your mobile. So you need to key in the password, or you use a Google Authenticator as a second step of verification. So that is what, how many people are using this security issue. And then password length and compliance. So there is a basic security feature which ensures that the password should be strong, so that the account may not be breached by unknown persons. So this tells us about the compliance pertaining to the user password. So you can say 2 users, two users are compliant. If you find it is there's a non-compliant user who has given out a weak password as his own password, you need to inform the user to change the password, or you can change the password from the backend and send it across to the person. Then strength of the password, you should say, for example, your weak password unknown. Supposing a strong password is blue, so almost all the passwords members, we have 2 members, have a strong password. If the member is having a weak password as per the password strength algorithm, it will be seen here, and the sysadmin will warn you. Then user account status, again we have already seen in our highlights. This is actually micro level management. How many users are active, how many users have been suspended, how many users have been blocked. The same thing with the admin status. And then here it gives you the less secure app status, and then storage used by different apps, and then last is the storage, total storage that has been consumed. So again, next comes the Gmail. So here it tells you the number of emails received into the accounts which has been hosted from within the domain, and number of emails that has been sent from this domain. So total emails, the received is blue, sent is orange. So that is what you see. So here you have sent, received 50, sent email 1. So for example, here received email 1, sent 0. So that's how it is. You can generate this report by clicking here. You can generate an entire report in the form of Google spreadsheet or CSV value or comma separated value. So you can download this report into a spreadsheet format. And then inbound delivery, say here what are all messages you have received, say from March 21st to September 17th. So I have told you it is not, so today is September 20th, it is not updated. It takes nearly 48 hours for the date to get updated. So the data you get is only till September 17th. And then inbound email. So inbound email and spam mails again will be, the number will be listed here, and then encrypted mails, if any, will be listed here, and then outbound email delivery will be listed here. Encrypted email also will be listed here. Now let us come to classroom. Here, say if you choose a 14-day active classes, that is what you can choose, that's a maximum. It will list you the number of classroom that has been active during a fortnight. So for example, here you have 2 classes which has been active. Here 9 classes were active. So it gives you the system administrator can just, you by clicking the classroom inside your report page, you can generate or get an idea about the active classes. The same report can be downloaded in a spreadsheet format or CSV format and send it across to the administrators. Then it also, the next setting tells the number of posts that has been created within the classroom. So by the teachers and by the students. So orange is by the student, blue is by the teacher. So within this test classroom, no post has been created by the student, only 3 posts have been created by the teacher. So, another thing is there are 4 posts created by the teachers. The same report can be downloaded in the spreadsheet format. Then next comes the number of classes created. So here the number of classes created actually happens. So 7 classes were created one time. So number of classes created is clearly seen here. So the system administrator can have a bird's eye view of what is happening within the domain by going to this interface. And now let me go to the Google Drive. So here, how many files, it gives you an interesting report. How many files have been shared externally, how many externally means outside your domain, and then how many files have been shared within the people within your domain, and how many files that have been added by. So the file can be a Google document, Google spreadsheet, other types of file, Google presentation. So the types of files which has been added, this is actually interesting. Types of files which has been added to the Google Drive is also listed beautifully here. So you should know that the system administrator can watch over your shoulder to know what exactly is happening within the domain. And this table gives you the active users say within the entire month it gives the number of active users. You can actually, as I've been showing, you can download the entire report in a spreadsheet format or a CSV format. Now let us come to the Google Meet. See here, supposing this will tell how many people actively used Google Meet during this period. So here, how many teachers used, how many active users there, how many 30-day active users there. So the three choices given. You can go ahead and download this report. And now here, let me go to audit log. So here this will tell in fact, if you want to take attendance of the students, say supposing you have sent out invite to online Google class, you are conducting a class, online class using a Google Meet. So you need to have audit log. By going to the audit log, you will be able to see and download the attendance. It will tell you who all have attended the meeting. So here it tells you when the student has joined. So for example here, how many minutes the student have spent within your Google Classroom, what sort of device the student has used to join your class. So almost all of them, supposing if it is a web, they would have been using a laptop or a desktop. If it is Android, iOS, these are all mobile phones. So you see, all these lectures have been attended by students using their mobile. So by clicking the wheel, you can add columns. You can just delete unwanted columns, and you can generate or download a report. So for example, you can just click the organizational unit, whichever you want to do it, or you can apply a filter. So you can use a whitelisted group, or you can say start dates in the last, say for example, last 7 days. You get that, and so here the last 7 days details you get, or let us say date range last 2 weeks. So what happens? You get there will be a lot you will see, because I have conducted some classes, so you will get all the details. How many minutes the student has spent within the Google Meet, and what sort of device they have used. So they have spent somewhere around 49 minutes, 56 minutes, and this student has just spent 6 minutes. So the attendance can be retrieved from this audit log. But this feature is available only within the G Suite. Supposing you are conducting your classes using your personal Google ID, using Google Meet, you cannot take attendance, retrieve attendance this way. You need to use other third-party plugins, which I will be demonstrating in our further sessions. Thank you for your patient listening.